used to ask that. They used to ask, why is it pink? Is it because of breast cancer awareness? But we used to have, speaking of that, we used to have ribbons on here because we were donating money to that cause a few years ago. All our Red Rock tours, we were given a percentage of the money that we raised on the tours for breast cancer awareness, and because of Nevada Cancer Institute. But that closed, unfortunately. It was that facility was a great facility. They treated other forms of cancer as well. But we used to take the patients, some of the patients and their families, out to Red Rock on tour, on free tours, also in October, and so it was a lot of fun. But yeah, it's the pink vehicles are awesome. We appreciate them. They're Dodge 3500 pickup trucks, and these vehicles are they're really awesome. This vehicle again proved it to me about 2 weeks ago on a Saturday, two Saturdays ago. I was at the Grand Canyon at the West Rim, and on the way out of there, we ran into a flash flood and a mudslide. So we were coming out, and there was a gigantic mudslide in front of us, and my coworker John, he was ahead of us about a mile, and we pulled up to this mudslide. It was right in front of us, and there was a bus in front of right in front of the mudslide, one of the other tour companies, and he was sitting there, and it was pouring rain, and I jumped in his bus so I could see, and I was talking to him, and he was calling the police to let him know that the mudslide was there. And so I called my office and I said, we're not going anywhere, we're stuck here. And then I got out of the bus and I started walking back, and I was looking around thinking, wow, there's nowhere for my guests to use the restroom. We're going to be here for hours. All that stuff's going through my head. I'm looking at the water. The water was running in front of us across the road in the mudslide, and then there was a big river next to the a wash actually next to us, running alongside the road. And so a few minutes later, this guy in a Dodge 150 Dodge 150 or no F-150 pickup truck, he drives through the mudslide coming in the other direction, and he pulls up to me and he says, you can make it through there, just throw it in four-wheel drive. And I'm thinking, I asked him, I said, I didn't see him come through, I just saw him after, and I thought he just turned around in the line of traffic. And he said, no, I just came through there. He said, you can do it. There was an older man sitting next to him, and he shook his head and he goes, yeah, four-wheel drive. And I turned around and I got back in the truck and I asked my guests, I said, you guys want to do this? And they said, yeah. And I had some people from Australia in the truck, and the one guy said, just do it, mate, just do it. So I said, all right, everybody make sure your seatbelts are fastened. And everybody voted yes. So I put it in four-wheel drive, and I used to drive for UPS back in Pennsylvania for 15 years, so I used to drive it in the snow, and I've done a lot of off-roading out here with our vehicles, and so I thought I better do it before somebody else goes in there and gets stuck, and then we're going to be in big trouble. So I went through it in the truck, cut through it like nothing. So we got over, and then as we went along, there was like 6 other flash floods going across the road, and so we made it through all of them. Luckily, they weren't that deep, but there was a lot of them, and so it was a heck of a ride back. But we made it. Otherwise, we would have had to sit there for hours and wait for. Once the police would have got there, they wouldn't let anybody move and go across it, of course, and then you'd be sitting there till they could get a bulldozer out there to move the mud off the road, and it was still pouring rain, so it would have been hours. And I remember thinking, people need restrooms and things like that. So, but we made it, so it was awesome. But it was a fun day, fun tour. It was the worst flash flood I've been in over the years. So, but these trucks are awesome. We appreciate them. I'm glad they have them like they do. They put these lift kits on them. They have four-wheel drive. It was another day we were out at the Grand Canyon. We went out we did a special custom tour. It's called Diamond Creek. And the Diamond Creek tour we do once in a while. We drive people down into the Grand Canyon, down a 19-mile dirt road, and we drop them off. They go on a whitewater rafting trip. And so we drop them off there, and we had to drive through a tributary of the Colorado River, which is fun, another fun thing. And then we drop them off, and they get on these rafts, and they do whitewater rafting. Then they come back up on a helicopter. So once we drop them off, our job is done, and we turn around and go back to Vegas. Well, we got these guys down there, and they got on the rafts, and we were watching them go down the river, and we turned around to come back up, and one of the trucks' transmission was having some problems. He was behind me. There was 5 of us together, and so we ended up, we called the office, and we told my boss. They said, hey, I have a tow strap in the back of this truck, and I said, I think we can try to tow this out of here. So we hooked up to the back steps of this truck and the front of the other one, and we towed it out of there. It worked. Took a while, but it was fun. On the right here, you guys can see this is a wall. This is a tribute to the Hoover Dam workers, and there's a sound barrier wall. And then over here on the right is a picture of the dam. On the left over here is the Railroad Pass Casino. This little casino was built in 1931, and it's a cute little casino. It's still operating. It's the longest continuously operated casino in our state since 1931. And as you can see, it's a truck stop too. It became a truck stop years ago, and they've expanded the truck stop. And so there's also a little restaurant in there called Capriotti's. It's one of a few in there. And Capriotti's is a nice place to get sandwiches or salads. They have soup also, soup, salads, and sandwiches. They're famous for them. And they're originally from Delaware, but they're in different states in the U.S. And if you guys are walking around the casinos and you see a Capriotti's, they're really good. And also they do a good cheesesteak. And since I'm from Philadelphia, I can say that. So, another good restaurant, one of the many. We were talking about food on the way to pick everybody up today in other restaurants. On the left over here is a golf course. You can see the trees and the vegetation. That is $399 for a round of golf over there. So one of the more expensive ones here in Vegas. We have some less expensive ones too. My neighbor, during the pandemic, golfed at every golf course in town. There's depending on which website you look at, there's between 39 and 50 golf courses here. So I know it sounds kind of crazy in the desert to have that many golf courses also, but that's another big issue that comes up when we talk about water, our water situation, because water is a big issue for us, as you probably have been hearing on the news about things at Lake Mead, the water levels dropping. They've been finding things, including bodies out there in Lake Mead, and we're down about 184 feet. I didn't check this morning to see where we are, but we've kind of been in that area, and it's been a big issue for us. We get the majority of our water from the Colorado River. The Colorado is the workhorse for the West, and we really appreciate that river. It flows out of the Rocky Mountains through 7 states on its way to Mexico, and so it's really important to us what's happening with that river. And over the years, over the past 23 years, we've had a drought in the Rocky Mountains, and they just haven't been getting the amount of snowpack that we would like them to get. And we had 5 good years mixed in there, and there's some other reasons for the why Lake Mead's like it is. One of them has been the drought. The other is a lot of these other states, people have been moving there, and they're using more water, and a lot of those other states, they don't conserve like we do as far as our water goes. So, you know, we wake up in the morning and we know we're living in the desert, so we try to do what we can to conserve water. And also we do have restrictions, as you can imagine, because we are in the desert, which helps. And we have restrictions on washing your car in the driveway, We have the county that we live in is Clark County, and they're actually paying people $3 a square foot to rip up their grass and plant desert landscaping. I'm going to change the subject for a second. This is a tribute on our left here to the Hoover Dam workers and their dog. And they had a Labrador Retriever, and so he was famous, a famous dog. I'll tell you more about him a little bit later. But this is Boulder City, the town that we're in. This was originally built to house the Hoover Dam workers. And Boulder City, it's a cute little town. It's only one of 2 towns in our entire state where you cannot gamble. So there's no casinos here. Won't see any casinos, won't see anything to do with gambling because you can't do it here. They originally set it up that way because they didn't want the Hoover Dam workers sidetracked. They wanted them to focus and finish the dam as soon as they could and as soon as possible. So it was a big thing, and there was no alcohol allowed here. There was no gambling. Alcohol came in the 1960s, so they have that now. But they just don't have any gambling. And so I see a lot of boats here, and I know it looks funny to see boats in the desert, but Lake Mead is definitely big enough to handle all these boats. It's pretty busy out there on the weekends. A lot of houseboats out there too. That's a big business here at Lake Mead. Houseboats, people rent them for like a week at a time and take them out on the lake, and it's a big business for us out here. You can see on the left over here we've got lots of outdoor things for people's yards. There's a T-Rex on the end there on the left. We got another T-Rex over here. I had a tour one day, a lady and her son, he was 5, and nobody else was on the tour, so we had to stop and see the T-Rex on our way to the Hoover Dam. But that's most of that stuff's done by a place called Artistic Iron in Vegas. They do a lot of interesting things. They even have a stagecoach on their property that they made out of iron. Pretty amazing artwork. On the left over here, we got a BC on the side of the mountain that stands for Boulder City. We also have some parachuters up here. Can you guys see them? There's some parachuters, 2 of them that I can see coming down. Usually we don't see them over there. We see them over to our right over the airport. But it's kind of interesting to see them on this side. But it looks like they're going to land in the Lake Mead National Recreation Area over there. But we're going to head to the older part of town here. On the left up here, you guys can see there's a digital billboard, and to the right of that billboard are some desert bighorn sheep. And so the sheep, the desert bighorn sheep are our state mammals, and so we'll keep an eye out for them as we're driving around today. There's between 200 and 300 sheep that live over here, over by the dam, and so animals are pretty smart. They know where the water is, and desert bighorn sheep, they don't go more than 2 miles from their water supply. So very smart creatures. The gentleman that was in charge of building the dam, his name was Frank Crow. And Frank Crow and the workers were able to complete this project 2.5 years ahead of schedule and under budget, which is pretty amazing. These guys worked hard, and you can imagine, I know you guys aren't used to hearing those words in the same sentence, ahead of schedule and under budget. We're smart than they used to be. Yeah, people are amazing. Those guys are amazing what they were able to do back then. On the left over here is Frank Crow Memorial Park, dedicated to Frank Crow, and that is real grass that you guys see. On the left over here is a mural with some of our creatures on, including the sheep. And up here on the left is a statue. There's lots of statues here in Boulder City, and these statues are dedicated to the people that have lived and worked here to build the dam. And this guy's name was Alabama, and he's got a broom and he's got some rolls around his neck. Those are toilet paper rolls, and he's a very important person who took care of cleaning and supplying the restrooms for the workers. And so On the left up here is the Coffee Cup Cafe. The Coffee Cup was featured on the Food Network, diners, drive-ins, and dives. And they do breakfast and lunch. And up here on the right is a statue of a lady, and this was dedicated to all the women that helped make Boulder City home back in the 1930s. The Hoover Dam was built between 1931 and 1935, so it was during the Depression. And this hotel on the right here, it's a 21-room hotel, the Boulder Dam Hotel. And it's still a hotel, still does a really good business. On the left over here, we've got a cast of characters at the antique store. And on the right, we have the Boulder City Theater. And up here on the right, another antique store. Somebody was telling me the other day that the same person owns both of these stores, and they leave that furniture out there. It's kind of mind-blowing to me, but it's Boulder City is it's a cute little town. As we said, it doesn't have any gambling, so their crime level is really low here, which is really neat to know. Know some people that live over here, they really like it. And up here on both sides of us, you can see some grass. This is real grass, and a lot of grass that you see around Vegas, it might not be real because we have a lot of artificial turf. At the Wynn, the Encore, some of the hotels, a lot of them actually have artificial turf. They do that to save water because we need to conserve as best we can with our water, as we were saying before. And that's one of the ways we do it with the artificial turf. Looks like they're having something going on this weekend here. So it's a busy weekend. It's going to be a busy weekend in Vegas for everybody. There's a lot going on out here. Looks like they're going to have a festival.